Hey there, welcome to the garden. Well, the end of summer, things just kind of slow down a little bit, and I have slowed down a little bit, and the garden has been there's some interesting new developments out here in the back garden, and so I thought I would share with you what's going on in my process. So there's this dead tree that was kind of hanging on by a thread over here on the side of the garden, and it finally came down. I'm actually really lucky because it didn't hit anything. It hit one pot, but it came down, and it kind of came down straight into the middle of this back garden space. And it was one of those moments where I know I just need to have someone come out and get rid of it, but honestly, there's just a lot going on here at the house and with the kids and back to school and the budget and everything. It's just to spend the money to get a big tree like this removed when it's not actually endangering anything, it's just hanging out over here. What's really the point? So it's kind of just sitting there, and it kind of came into a sort of central part of this garden space that I have back here that I've been sort of trying to figure out anyways. With this first year garden, it's really been such a process for me of trying to decide what it is I even want for my different garden spaces. I have obviously the large kitchen garden, which I think is going to have a huge element of just aesthetic, floral interest going forward. I probably will have a few plants out in it, like some cherry tomato plants, some of those sort of fun, just you snack on them, ground cherries, things that you snack on while you're out there. I do still have the bush cherry plants out there. The asparagus plants are started in that area. I'm not going to move them and set back my asparagus planting. So there's some things up there in the kitchen garden that I'll show you the kitchen garden in a second. It's been so dry here that I feel like everything is sort of hanging on by a thread because I've been watering as much as I can, but there's only so much I can do. But that is the big kitchen garden space. And then I've been sitting here trying to think, what do I want to do with the rest of our land? We obviously have a lot of forest, which is for the most part going to stay forested, but what do I want to do, and how do I want my gardens to look like? And with the deer, I have to, if I want to plant the majority of decorative foliage, it's going to have to be inside a deer fence. And I've just been toying through all these ideas and kind of trying to figure out with that kitchen garden how much of my actual produce I want to grow out there, because it's just so nice to have flowers in that garden because I see it from the house. So anyways, I thought I was set. I thought I was going to have the kitchen garden and the back garden here, and I was just going to figure it out. And then the tree came down in the middle of it. And it's not even so much in the middle that it completely causes an issue, disrupts it. I could totally work around it. I don't think, at the end of the day, it's such a huge deal. But it kind of got me thinking. And once I got started thinking, I was like, you know what? I do actually want to kind of change up. I know, here we go again. This year has been the garden year of changing this back garden space. I was like, I think I want to change it up. There's another half. So on this side of the field, you get, as you can see right now, you get afternoon sun. It's beautiful in the morning, and then it gets progressively hot during the day. And by the time you're out here in the afternoon, it's a little bit of a chilly day. So it's fairly comfortable right now, but it ends up being very sunny back here. And in the summer, it gets very hot. On the other side of the field, it gets a big chunk of morning sun, about 6 hours of morning early sun, starting from 9 a.m. to about 3 p.m. It is sunny there, and then it gets afternoon shade. And I started thinking about it, and I started thinking, that's actually really an interesting space, because it is nice to have the big full sun areas. It's nice to get the big full afternoon sun, but it is very intense here. We have a lot of heat and a lot of humidity, and the sun just bakes in the afternoon and just really is very, very intense. And so I started to think that, moving a few garden beds over into that morning sun area might be kind of interesting. It might be a good area for some of the herbs that I want to grow, and potentially, you know, some different flowers that can't handle the full afternoon sun, because the afternoon sun really is quite intense. I even think maybe perhaps some of my berry bushes, they just look a little bit like scalded by the afternoon sun. My raspberries are just kind of just struggling. And so I thought maybe, you know, some like a big chunk of morning sun and then some afternoon shade might actually be okay. I don't know, it might be interesting to try. So I decided I'm going to start moving some of there's like a big wood pile over there. So I'm going to move the wood pile and kind of put some beds and do a little mini herb strawberry kind of garden over there, because I've noticed that my strawberries like to have just a little bit of protection in my climate. So maybe like an herb berry patch over there. And then I think I'm going to kind of reconfigure this garden along here and make it into like a true vegetable garden, just full on. I mean, probably there'll always be flowers, because let's face it, it's my garden. So there'll be some measure of flowers, but also just like a little vegetable garden, kind of for like those eggplants and peppers, because my eggplants and my peppers and my tomatoes did so much better out here than they did in the kitchen garden where it's so intense. The zinnias, the cosmos, they are loving that like hot sun all day long. But honestly, my eggplants were like not thrilled, and also my like peppers didn't love it. The tomatoes did okay, but they didn't do as well as the ones back here. I think this is like, there's a nice climate here where there's just it's a little bit less intense. Where I had eggplants up there and they got afternoon shade, they were happier. So I'm gonna set that up. And I can always change it. It can turn into cut flowers. It can turn into whatever I want. If I decide, you know what, I want to grow the vegetables up front, and I can switch it out, because it's going to mostly stick with annuals for the time being. That's going to be my plan. And then I'll just kind of, you know, it leaves me room to change things up. But then I was like, okay, so I'll have my herb garden, my berry patch, I'll have my vegetable garden. And then where I'm sitting right now, I decided, you know what? I want to make like my coffee garden. I sit in the garden in the morning coffee spot. So here, let me show you. As with all my projects this year, very much a work in progress, very much not going to be completed in a day. I'm not able time-wise or anything to do like one of those full, you know, Instagram before and after transitions really quick. But this is where it's going to be the like sit down, have your coffee garden. I need to clear out some of the debris, but there's some really fun structure. There's like these big fallen trees. I'm going to clear out the debris on the ground, set that trough back a little bit, and then make a little coffee seating area and put maybe a couple beds up front here, and just have this little sort of like spot that's kind of tucked away, tucked back into the forest, where you can really enjoy the forest. And that's going to be like the coffee garden area. And then it's just a little quick steps. Everything is kind of a mess right now. And you'll be right here. And this is where I'm going to make my little like veggie production garden. I'm just going to move some of the beds around. These are barely filled, so it's a little bit of a pain, but I'll just move them, refill them. I'll probably take out those in-ground beds. I don't think I want those. I just have my little veggie garden back here, because I think that'll just be so cute. And I can do all my little productions of vegetables that I really want to eat, and just have that all set up there. Sorry, I've got the hose running. And then over here in the corner, this is very much in progress, but then over here in the corner, this is going to be the herb garden. And I need to level out the space. I have been working so hard to move all this wood, and then this needs to go to the next spot where it's going to be. But this is like even like, so it rained a tiny bit this morning, and this area has stayed dry, or had stayed wet, excuse me, where all the rest of the gardens are dry. This has stayed kind of damp, and it's cool over here. I think it's going to be like a great place to grow basil. I'm going to move a few more of these lower troughs around the center trough there. I'm really excited, because like right now in the afternoon, this is the spot you want to be. So I do need to kind of figure out, I think maybe leaving room in the back here where I can put, I think I have dirt on my face, where I can put a bench, somewhere to sit perhaps. But that'll just be like a really sweet kind of like seating area. It's so beautiful. It's cool. Like this is going to be a lovely spot. And I think that's going to be ultimately like kind of fun to have these different garden spaces, rather than having like just one. They're going to be small. Like the kitchen garden's huge. Kitchen garden is truly very large, at least in my world, like huge. And so these are just going to be these really small little garden spaces, and we'll have like 3 little gardens back here. And then I kind of think, I don't know if I'm going to get to it this year, but I want to start laying out back in the woods. I want to create a little path back into the woods and put in like a full shade garden back in the woods. I need to water some of the other plants out here. Let me grab this. So I think it'd be kind of cool to have like a little secret garden, like a secret forest garden that's all shade plants. Because again, I planted some plants like on the edge of the forest, and I didn't realize that like this afternoon sun just slants in. I tried to grow some ferns. I planted a few different ferns, and the afternoon sun just slides in under the trees and is so intense. Like it was just honestly too much for all those plants. So that was really interesting to see, and definitely gave me like food for thought, where I'm like, okay, we need to sort of figure out a different plan if I want to have shade. So I think it'd be just really cool to have like a little shady garden in the woods. And although I haven't filled any of these raised beds, which was kind of becoming like a little crazy, because we're at this point here where I got all these beds and none of them are filled. But now I'm glad I didn't, because now I can make this decision. You can kind of see right here. It's a little hard to tell, but like with the tree right here, it just cuts off this space. So I'm just going to build the vegetable patch this way. And then I think what actually I'm going to do with this tree, it's all the way up, and it looks a little precarious on the camera, but honestly, it's really stuck in there. It's got a ton of branches at the top that are all tangled up in this beech tree, and it's a pretty sturdy piece of wood still. So I think I might try to grow, well, it might be too much sun. I'm gonna have to see, but I do want to grow like some climbing hydrangeas, some different things. I actually kind of think that dead tree right there might be a perfect spot for a climbing hydrangea. So I might try to grow some stuff in and around like the little coffee garden space here. So kind of just leaving this room for it to do its thing. It can fall when it wants, or if I finally get around and we get someone out here, we can get it taken out. But I don't think, we'll see. I mean, we're getting into fall, so I'm sure we'll have some windy days. But I just will be kind of surprised at this point if it were to come down. But there shouldn't be anything. I don't even think it would hit the coffee garden space if it were to actually fall. So I think we're good. And then we're just kind of not going to put anything in that area. I still want to slowly clear out this space, because I think it would be a fun place to have some in-ground gardening eventually. But I'm just going to start for the time being with in-ground growing around here like next season. So that's my plan for right now. Just kind of funny how like I thought I was all set, and then that happened, and it was just like, oh, and it kind of threw me off for a minute. And I've been doing a lot of just like sketching out of garden designs, and there hasn't really been much to do. Honestly, I kind of taken a little break from filming because there's nothing going on. I'm just watering. I don't have a lot set up for the fall garden. My seedlings are coming along. I'm going to plant them out soon, but there's not like a ton happening. So I just kind of like took a break and tried to recenter. And now I feel like I like the plan for this. Like I'm excited. So it feels good to have these different spaces that have purposes, and I can be really clear on like the particular purpose for each of them. I think the only piece I'm missing really is like a designated cut flower garden. So I probably will just do in the vegetable garden out here. It'll be like a vegetable and cut flower garden. So what I'll probably do is just pick like a couple beds, and those will be cut flower beds, and I'll be able to just like come out, like harvest a few food crops, and then harvest my flowers, and like actually just do that as like a practical thing. I think that makes sense. I'm trying to make things just all make sense for me in my space. And it was just, I don't know why I feel the need to like label these gardens or have these ideas of what each of these gardens are doing, but something about the organization of it for me, I feel like I just want to know, like, okay, what's the plan for that space? What's the plan for that space? So now I think this old tree has got me started in that direction. And so now I'm like, okay, I think I know what we're doing. I think I got the plan. So that is where we're at right now. That's what's going on. Just coming out here to do a little checkup watering because we got some rain last night, as I said, which was the first rain we've had in a while. I don't think we're likely to get much more. So I wanted to see if that actually did do any like help and water anything. It looks like it did. It looks like we got a decent amount of rain. So that was a start. Boy, I mean, it has been so dry here, and that's very unusual for us. I guess in the fall it usually dries out a little bit. But for us to have weeks and weeks of no rain is so strange. It's been really, really bizarre. And it's definitely been throwing me off because I'm like, I feel like all the plants just look like, they're very, very sad. I can show you what the kitchen garden looks like. It just, it's pretty. It's definitely, we still got the flowers. The zinnias are still rocking and rolling. I've been getting a few things on the tomatoes. The pumpkins are growing, not very fast. The pumpkin vines aren't growing super fast, but they are growing. So we'll see. But you know, it's just kind of hanging in there. End of summer garden, and still kind of just limping along, I guess, at this point. So here's the garden. Basil is still happy. You know, I did end up moving some of the troughs. I just felt like it was a lot of troughs, and I wanted to keep these walkways really open, especially next year when there's more flowers growing in them. Hopefully, like, it'll feel like you want to have these big open walkways and you can just run around unimpeded. And then I thought I would use those troughs that were up here back in the back garden and use them like for the herb garden and such. I actually am going to pick some basil right now for the bunnies because they love the basil, even though the basil's a little bit past its prime. This is the Emerald Towers, which is just now, has done so well throughout the heat. It is just now starting. And then this is some Purple Petra. Just get a bunch of this basil for the bunnies. They love it. Still good bunny food, and that will feed the garden. All right. So that's a little update from where we're at and the changes we're making. I'll try to post a bit more and keep you posted as hopefully we start getting into some of the fall garden and I start to get these new gardens set up. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.